What is the ultradian rhythm? Okay, I know you may be asking, how many rhythms does sleep have? And how do they all stay in check? Well, just take it as further confirmation of the very specific and necessary design that sleep has. The ultradian rhythm is actually the specific cycling of the stages of sleep overnight. As we mentioned earlier, there is REM or rapid eye movement sleep and non-REM or non-rapid eye movement sleep. That can be observed in children, adolescents, and adults. What is interesting is that similar to how we discussed the developmental changes we observe in the duration, timing, and consolidation of sleep over time, we see similar processes occurring in the ultradian rhythm. Again, reinforcing the fact that sleep provides a great representation of brain development and health. In infants, when they are born, they clearly have an immature brain, which is also represented by their sleep. In fact, they are not even yet able to generate the mature cycles of REM and non-REM sleep until at least 3 to 4 months of age. When we look at their sleep, they cycle every 50 to 60 minutes between something called active and quiet sleep. Active sleep is a stage of sleep that looks similar to REM sleep, but the baby will typically have small body movements, and you may see the eyes have eye movements as well while closed. Quiet sleep lacks these eye movements and has an appearance similar to non-REM sleep. By the age of 3 months, more distinct sleep staging develops and includes non-REM 1, non-REM 2, non-REM 3, or slow-wave sleep, and REM sleep. In early childhood, cycling through these stages of sleep still occurs in about 50 to 60 minutes, with the first bout of REM occurring towards the end of that time, where the older child to adult will cycle every 90 to 120 minutes. To illustrate what a normal night of sleep might look like in an older child or adult that cycles every 90 to 120 minutes, we see this sleep representation called a hypnogram. A hypnogram gives a full night view of our sleep cycling. As you can see, we tend to fall asleep first into our lightest stage of sleep, non-REM 1 sleep. This is an initial transition from wakefulness to sleep. In this stage of sleep, we typically will find that the normal waking rhythm, or alpha rhythm, observed on an EEG, would start to slow down and be replaced by a slow frequency called a theta rhythm. We'll also start to see that the eyes may have slow rolling eye movements during this time. We then may enter into non-REM 2 sleep. This stage of sleep also has a theta rhythm and slow rolling eye movements, but has some very unique features called K-complexes, vertex waves, and sleep spindles. The next stage of sleep is non-REM 3, also known as slow wave sleep. This is our deepest stage of sleep, which also makes it the hardest to wake someone from. In this stage of sleep, there is even more slowing, down to a delta frequency. That tends to have very big waveforms, especially in the front of the brain or the frontal lobe. We tend to have our biggest chunk of time in slow wave sleep in the beginning of the night, and that progressively decreases over the course of the night. Finally, REM sleep, which is characterized by a mixed frequency waveform that can kind of look like wakefulness, except it is accompanied by rapid eye movements and REM atonia, meaning there's a loss of muscle tone or paralysis. There is the shortest duration in the beginning of the night, and that progressively increases at night, called the normal progression of REM. Depending on age, the percent of time we spend in each stage of sleep changes. In children and adolescents, we spend 2 to 5% of our sleep in non-REM 1, 35% to 45% in non-REM 2, and 25 to 35% in non-REM 3, and 20 to 25% in REM sleep. As adults, we spend 2 to 5% in non-REM 1, 45 to 55% in non-REM 2, 13 to 23% in non-REM 3, and 20 to 25% in REM sleep. We continue to learn about the varied contribution of these different stages of sleep. For instance, significant hormone production, like growth hormone, is produced during slow wave sleep, and slow wave sleep is the most impactful in repaying sleep debt. Non-REM 2 and REM sleep have been suggested to be really important for learning, but have different impacts depending on the type of learning. And finally, REM sleep potentially influence our creativity. How do I know if I'm getting the right amount of these stages of sleep? It is not uncommon for people to track their sleep with different wrist-worn fitness devices. Frequently, I hear them concerned that they are not getting enough deep sleep or another stage of sleep. Well, first, although these devices may have relatively good ability to give a suggestion of overall sleep-wake patterns, like are you asleep or are you awake, they have not been shown to be reliable for sleep staging. So don't stress. Even if you don't wear one of these devices, a better way to focus is on your timing, quality, and duration of sleep. Consider maintaining a sleep diary to keep track of your sleep patterns. That can be helpful. When you are getting the age-appropriate amount of good quality sleep at the right time of day, your sleep cycle tends to be spot on. It's when we start restricting our sleep or have another sleep disorder. That's when we tend to see our sleep cycles not performing well.